Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. For decades, fighter jets have been defined by speed, stealth, and firepower, but every generation has followed certain rules. Even the F-35 and the rumored F-47 still operate within frameworks built during the Cold War and refined in the digital age. Now, military planners and aerospace engineers are quietly admitting something radical. Seventh-generation fighters will not just improve on today's jets, they will completely break the rules of what a fighter aircraft even is. To understand how disruptive seventh-generation fighters will be, we first need to understand the limits of current aircraft. Fifth-generation fighters like the F-35 rely heavily on stealth shaping, sensor fusion, and networked warfare. They are extremely capable, but they still need pilots, runways, predictable logistics, and centralized command structures. Even future sixth-generation jets, expected in the 2030s, still assume a pilot-led platform supported by drones. Seventh-generation concepts throw away many of these assumptions entirely. One of the biggest rule breakers will be the disappearance of the traditional pilot. Seventh-generation fighters are expected to be fully autonomous from the start, not optionally unmanned but designed without a cockpit at all. Removing the pilot eliminates biological limits like G, force tolerance, oxygen requirements, and reaction time. This allows aircraft to perform maneuvers that would instantly kill a human, including sustained hypersonic turns and extreme vertical accelerations. Artificial intelligence will not just assist the aircraft, it will be the aircraft. Unlike current AI co-pilots or decision aids, seventh-generation fighters will think, learn, and adapt in real time. They will analyze enemy behavior mid-battle, rewrite their own tactics, and coordinate with other systems without human input. Combat decisions that once took minutes or seconds will be made in milliseconds. Another rule that will be broken is centralized command. Today's fighters depend on satellites, AWACS, and command centers. Seventh-generation systems will operate as decentralized swarms. Each aircraft will be both a shooter and a commander, capable of leading or following depending on the situation. If communication is jammed or satellites are destroyed, the system will continue fighting independently. Stealth as we know it will also change dramatically. Instead of relying mainly on shape and radar, absorbing materials, seventh-generation fighters are expected to use active stealth. This includes real-time electromagnetic manipulation, adaptive skins, and even plasma-based stealth concepts that can alter how the aircraft appears across radar, infrared, and optical spectrums. In simple terms, the aircraft won't just hide, it will actively deceive sensors. Speed will no longer be the main measure of dominance. While hypersonic capability will exist, the real advantage will be persistence. Seventh-generation fighters may stay airborne for days or even weeks using advanced propulsion, energy harvesting, or near-space operating altitudes. The idea of scrambling jets from airbases may become obsolete when fighters are already waiting above the battlefield. Weapons will also break traditional rules. Instead of carrying a fixed load of missiles and bombs, future fighters may generate effects on demand. Directed energy weapons like high-powered lasers and microwave systems will replace or supplement missiles. Cyber weapons will be deployed through electromagnetic attacks, disabling enemy aircraft without firing a single kinetic round. Missiles themselves will evolve. Rather than being dumb projectiles, they will act as independent AI agents. Once launched, they may choose their own targets, coordinate with other missiles, or even return if no viable target is found. The line between aircraft, missile, and drone will blur completely. Another revolutionary shift will be in manufacturing and replacement. Seventh-generation fighters may not be long-life assets like today's jets. Instead, they could be expendable platforms produced rapidly using advanced manufacturing like AI-driven design and 3D printing. Losing one aircraft would not be a strategic disaster, but an expected cost of warfare. The concept of air superiority itself will change. Instead of controlling airspace with visible presence, dominance will mean denying the enemy the ability to operate at all. Seventh-generation systems could silently shut down enemy air forces through electronic, cyber, and space domain attacks before a single dogfight occurs. Dogfighting, as traditionally imagined, may disappear entirely. Close range aerial combat is risky, inefficient, and unnecessary when AI can engage targets hundreds of kilometers away with perfect coordination. If visual range combat happens at all, it may involve autonomous systems fighting at speeds and angles humans can barely comprehend. Another rule to be broken is national ownership. While countries will still develop their own systems, seventh-generation warfare may rely on shared, coalition-based AI frameworks. Allies could plug into the same combat ecosystem, allowing forces from different nations to fight as a single integrated entity. This raises massive political and ethical questions, but offers unprecedented military efficiency. Space will no longer be a separate domain. Seventh-generation fighters may operate at the edge of space, launching and recovering from suborbital trajectories. They could interact directly with satellites, space-based sensors, and orbital weapons platforms, making air and space warfare inseparable. Logistics, often the weakest link in warfare, will also be transformed. Autonomous resupply drones, self-repairing materials, and predictive maintenance driven by AI will drastically reduce the need for ground crews and vulnerable supply chains. Fighters may diagnose and fix their own damage mid-mission. Perhaps the most unsettling rule to be broken is human control, with AI making life and death decisions at machine speed. The role of humans may shift from operators to supervisors, or even to policymakers far removed from the battlefield. This raises serious moral concerns about accountability, escalation, and unintended conflict. Deterrence will look very different in a world of seventh-generation fighters. Traditional displays of power, like air shows or forward deployments, may be meaningless if the most powerful systems are invisible, autonomous, and constantly moving. Deterrence may rely more on uncertainty than visible strength. Countries that fail to adapt could find their air forces obsolete almost overnight. Just as propeller-driven aircraft were rendered useless by jets, current stealth fighters could be overwhelmed by autonomous swarms that ignore traditional rules of engagement and physics-limited tactics. It's important to understand that seventh-generation fighters are not just a technological leap, but a philosophical one. They challenge the idea that war must be human-centered. They redefine what an aircraft is, what a pilot is, and even what victory looks like. Some experts argue that such systems are decades away, while others believe early versions are already being tested in classified programs. What is certain is that the race has begun. The nation that masters autonomy, AI warfare, and systems combat will dominate the skies without ever being seen. In the end, forgetting the F-35 or the F-47 is not about disrespecting their capabilities. It's about recognizing that they belong to an era that is ending. Seventh-generation fighters will not just fly faster or hit harder. They will rewrite the rules of air combat so completely that today's debates will seem outdated. The future of air warfare will be quieter, faster, more autonomous, and far more unpredictable. And when the first true seventh-generation fighter enters service, it may not even be announced. It will simply exist, watching, learning, and waiting above the battlefield, already fighting a war we can barely understand.